Hey everybody, it's Angel from Halo Inspirations. We give you inspirations to help you spread beauty and joy through your quilting journey. Happy Wednesday to you. Happy hump day. Whoop whoop. Yep, so what are we doing today? Well, this will be a shorter video, right? That's good for some of you. It's more of the inspiration about things that you can do with panels. Now, this is not a panel. This actually, if you're interested, you can, it's a Lori Holt pattern called Patchwork Flag, and it is found in her Scrappiness is Happiness book. It's on page 162 if you already have the book. If you're interested in it, we still have some of those books left. So you can find those on the website. So this is Patchwork Flag by Lori Holt of Bee in My Bonnet. Super loved it. It is darling, isn't it? Now, I don't have it hung straight. I just realized, but bear with it. But for the Patchwork Flag, I ended up using Red, White, and True by Danny Mogstead for Riley Blake Designs. It's a fat quarter bundle, super darling. You can find that also on our shop as long as supplies last. It is a fat quarter bundle, and I took various different blues and reds. Now, as far as the whites, I ended up, there's plenty more whites in the fat quarter bundle, but I was looking for a certain size print. So what I ended up doing is I took 2 of the prints from that fat quarter bundle and I added 3 more white background type fabrics. I used bee background cross stitch in brown and gray, and then I used also the third one, which is, I'm sorry, that's by Lori Holt of Bee in My Bonnet for Riley Blake Designs, and the third one I used was Bee Plaid's Farmhouse Stars in Pebble, which is also Lori Holt by Riley Blake, or for Riley Blake. All of that is in our shop if you're so intrigued and interested. This turned out absolutely fun, and I'm going to make another one because I love it so much. But those are what I used for the topper. Now, what did I do to it? Because all I did, I'm not going to show you how to do that pattern because, like I said, you can find it in Scrappiness is Happiness by Lori Holt. There's a lot of awesome quilts in there that you will love, to include this one. Isn't it amazing? So what did I do? What did I do? What am I doing the video on? What I have done, I'm trying to decide which way to go, I added poppies. I plan on giving this wall hanging. This is a wall hanging, and I want to say it's 36 by 48 is what it ends up finishing at. So it's definitely a wall hanging. In the Scrappiness is Happiness, she does at a bigger size. I just brought it down. So I added these poppies because I'm giving this to the American Legion, and we all know that they love their poppies. So where did I get these poppies and how did that work? Well, this is what that video's on. It's taking panels and cutting out what you would like and enhancing a quilt for you, or embellishing it a bit for you or your recipient or whatever it is that floats your boat and gets you just so happy. But the panel that I used is this one, which you can also find in the shop. Okay. And it's actually from Michael Miller. And it's called What's Poppin'. I mean, there are some beautiful, these are beautiful. And you can see I'm trying to decide which way to go. There's butterflies on here. I could have used butterflies. I just didn't. You can do so many things. This is just one panel. Okay. Imagine all the beautiful panels that are out. And all the various things you could do with it. But this is what we did. We took some of those poppies, right? This way, and added them onto this quilt to enhance it, to make it a little bit more special flag for the American Legion. So I'm just going to give you a rundown on how very simply this was done, and we'll have a little bit more fun with it. So I'll see you guys in just a sec. The first part is basically a lot of fun. Let me just say that. So you take your panel and you decide what it is that you want to cut up to put on your quilt top. So I picked this flower. It's got nice clean edges. I picked this flower, and if you'll notice there's some green leaf in here, so I'm going to cover another flower with it. I've picked this flower over here. Yes, we've got green, but I'm going to cut along the edges. So it in fact will make it a whole lot easier to use that than what it appears. I actually have picked that one right here in the middle, and there is another piece of green that sticks out over here. So what we're going to do is, again, I will cover it somehow with another flower. Okay, and I may or may not choose all of these. I'm guessing this is what I want, but you know, when you lay it out, that's when you really want to know. The last one, the last couple I think I want to do is this one here, and it's got that beautiful blue striking through it, and this little part over here, and I'll just cut right along the edge down here, and there'll be a little piece of green if I don't cut that out, because I don't think I want to. I just will make it easy on myself and just cut through that. So all I've done with all of these, once I figured out what I wanted, I basically put Heat and Bond Light, and I just cut misshapenly. I just made sure that all of them were covering the parts that I wanted to use, okay? And you can see through the panel pretty good. So this actually was very, very easy. Now this is the last part, the last couple that I wanted to do. I wanted this flower. Now it has that interesting part of the flower that goes into the next flower that I want to make sure I get, okay? So it goes all the way up here, all right? And then this one right here. Now there are other things on here that I could use, but I'm trying to not be too crazy, because I can get crazy, and just try to make this as simple for myself as possible. So all I'm going to do is take another piece of Heat and Bond Light, and you don't have to use Heat and Bond Light. Whatever you use for your applique, you want to follow the manufacturer's instructions, okay? Their instructions are there for a reason. And this is paper side up. The glue is facing down, okay? But I'm just going to simply press it down, get it adhered. And with Heat and Bond Light, you don't use steam, and you use a medium heat setting. Okay, and that's all we're going to do is just press this down. And I'm not going to walk you through me cutting all these out, but I'll talk about it here in just a second. So once all of these are adhered, and like I said, the rest of them were, but this is just an inspiration. It's just fun to use panels and what they have to offer on your quilts. There's so many things that you can do with panels that don't have to be necessarily a panel. And you know, the way these panels are being made now, they're so beautiful. We've got such wonderful creative designers that just have, these panels are amazing, absolutely amazing. So I want to use them in the best way that I think they can be used. So once you have them all ironed, I'm going to let that cool for just a second, and while I do, I've got this other side. So this is where, you know, you really don't have to be too persnickety at the beginning, right? So I'm just going to simply cut. Want to make sure where I'm cutting. I don't think I used this guy, so no, I didn't. So it doesn't matter. I want to make this manageable for myself. So I'm just going to cut a piece off here, get rid of that. And I was waiting for this to cool, because once it cools, then I know the adhesive is going to stick. If you pick it up too soon, sometimes it doesn't stick real well. And then I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to have you watch me cut this whole thing out, but I'll just basically use my scissors, okay, come in here and start cutting out all the little pieces that I would like to use inside of my quilt. So I will definitely get this part done off camera, and I will see you guys in just a sec. Okay, tip of the day. When you do this, once you get them all cut, you want to go ahead and take off the backing. I didn't do that at first, and thank goodness I took a picture. Okay, so I can remember where I put them. The only one I didn't take off was the bottom one, the very, very bottom. But I just simply took them all out and I put them where I think I like them. Now, some of them do have the green, like we talked about. I just made it easy on myself. I'm just going to use it to fill in some places and get it where I think I'd like it. Okay, now I am using an applique mat by Gypsy Quilter. The beautiful thing behind this is that you can press on it, and you know, I don't have the paper on here anymore. It's just the adhesive, and once they're all stuck together and you let it cool, it can be picked up and put as a whole on top of your quilt. Love that, because this just made this really easy. Now, I didn't have to do a cluster like this. I could have used very much so individual pieces and scattered them, but I really thought I would like to do something that was just one piece in one little area. Okay, just moving stuff around, trying to figure out, you know, just want to make sure I'm getting where I want. Okay, and then using your manufacturer's instructions, you again can just simply press them down right on top of the applique mat. Now, you don't have to, if you don't have an applique mat, you can do this right onto your quilt. The same method, deciding where you want to put it, and very simply press them all down. Now, if you do it straight onto your quilt, you'll want to take the bottom piece off too, okay? That will be helpful. Or it won't stick. So I'm just simply going to hold this down, and when everything is put together, I'm going to let it cool. Because like I said, some of these pieces do not have, there's no more paper on them, and they will stick to the applique for a second, the mat, but as soon as it cools, they'll be ready to pick up again and put on the quilt exactly where I want them to go. Now, I think this is pretty good. Again, I'm using no steam and a medium setting on my iron. Okay, so I'm going to let that cool. Now, if you're wondering, this is a wall hanging, so I very well could just stick it on there and be done. But if in fact it ever gets washed, these edges will start to fray, and they're not really permanent, so they could fall off. So I am going to stitch it. Now, I got a lot of color. I could try and match this reddish pinkish color, and up here it'd be, well, right here it's, well, none of it that I applique is pink, but I could try and match it. I could use a pink, I could use a red, I could use anything. You can use whatever you want, but I'm going to go ahead and use Orifil's monofilament, and it will disappear right into this beautiful arrangement of poppies. Once I get it situated, I'm going to take off this back piece, this last piece of paper. I'm hoping it cools while I'm talking. It doesn't feel like it though. I'll take that last piece of paper off, figure out where I want it on the quilt, go ahead and do the same method where I'm taking my iron and I'm pressing it down on the quilt, and then I'm going to load not my bobbin. If you use this, you do not wind a bobbin with this, you will cry. So you put this on your top thread, and my bottom thread, I'm going to go ahead and keep it as a 2600 that I used for Orifil 50 weight, because it's going to be on the inside of the quilt. You're not going to see it. So I'm going to go ahead and get this loaded, and it's pretty cool, but it's not quite. See, down here it's pretty still warm, but as you can see, all these pieces are inside here are fused. And once it cools, I'm going to be able to lift it off and put it right on the quilt, adhere it to the quilt, and I'm going to stitch every one of these raw edges. Every single one of them. I'm going to go through and tack them down and make sure that they stay permanent, because the Heat and Bond Light is a temporary adhesive. Oh, this didn't get glued down, so I'm going to have to hit this again. So I'm going to go ahead and get this part done off, and go ahead, and I'm using a blanket stitch, and you'll see me do it, and you'll see me do it again in the future. I'm actually going to break the blanket stitch down once again in the very near future. But I'm going to go ahead and get it all done off camera, and I'll bring you back and I'll just show you the quilt top with this adhered to it up close and personal, just that section, so that you can see how it actually looks with the monofilament. Yeah, that's going to stick now. So I'm going to let this cool. I'm going to get it sewn, or I'm going to get it on the quilt, get it sewn, and I'll see you guys in just a sec. Okay, so here she is. Isn't that just super darling? I absolutely loved doing this. It's just a very good inspiration for you to take parts of panels and put them on various different quilts to add just a little something more special. So if you know, I did talk about bringing this down and putting it underneath my overhead, but if I did that, it would be an extra clip. So what I decided to do is take a picture so you can see it blown up a little bit, and how that monofilament worked fantabulous. Super love it. Now the threads I still need to bury. And I'm hoping that I get this quilted for you by later this afternoon. We will cross your fingers and see. But it did. It was very easy. It was very fun. I loved how it turned out. This is a gift for the American Legion to put on their wall, or whatever they want to do with it. And the poppies are so important. So if you're wondering about what backing I'm going to use, I do have a backing that matches that fabric line that I used for the flag. However, because the poppies, remember, we always think about the people we're giving it to, and poppies are so important for the American Legion, that I've decided to use a bolt of fabric that matches the panel that I cut up. And it's actually Beige Stemmed Poppies is the name of the bolt. You can find that online. You can see what I'm talking about. But I'm going to use that because it's got poppies on it. And then for the binding, I'm going to use a black and white gingham around the binding. Think that'll look super cute. Looking forward to that. Now, as far as the motif, if you're wondering what motif, I'm thinking a wave. I haven't yet decided, and I think I'm going to pull Mayhem in to give a little bit more inspiration and thought behind it. He's fantabulous at picking motifs, so I'm definitely going to pull him in and see between the two of us what we end up doing. But I am thinking kind of a wave right now, but we'll see. Hopefully, again, I have this quilted for you later on this afternoon, fingers crossed, because that's an awful lot to do. But I'd love to be able to, I won't have it bound, I know that, but I'm hoping to at least have it quilted for you. So that is taking that panel and just cutting up the parts you want. And, you know, I didn't have to do this as a grouping, right? I could have put different poppies in different places and sporadically done that. You can do whatever you want. And that, you know, using a panel just really allows you to be more and more creative, which, you know, puts a little something in your soul, right? Now, one thing else that I didn't mention is I did talk about that I used the applique mat and being able to put it into one big cluster and then put it on the quilt. Well, I didn't really talk about why I did that. So one of the reasons is because I wasn't mixing and matching, and I wanted it in a big cluster. Isn't that just so darling? I absolutely love it. What that enabled me to do was make it that cluster, and then I could hang my quilt on my design board or put it out on a table, and I could put it in places and stand back and look at it and see if that's where I want it, or if it needed to be turned as a group. And it wasn't me trying to place every little piece all over again, and I could just migrate to different places on the quilt to really decide how I wanted it to be put on it. It gave me more flexibility. If I don't put it on the design board, I have put it on a table, and I stood up on a chair because I'm short. And I took a picture overhead, and I could move it around, and the picture speaks volumes too, and it allows you to sit on it for a while and process if that's exactly where you want things to go. So it is an option, but it's not a necessary. You could definitely just play with the idea without adhesing to it, and then just put it directly on the quilt, one layer at a time if you're going to do a bunch, right? Or you can lay them out in different places and see how you might like that. I mean, there are so many things to do. And this is more specific because I did a specific quilt. But just think of all of the panels that you could utilize parts of it to enhance that quilt and give a little bit more meaning to somebody that you are planning on giving it to. Super love that. I super love it, and I think you would too. So Mayhem and I are going to be on today at 3 p.m. for our live quilting and answers, 3 p.m. Eastern time, because we're here in Virginia. So we look forward to seeing you then. I do have a couple of things I'd like to chit chat about. So I'll look forward to seeing you all. Hopefully I'll have this all quilted, but you know what, guys? This was fun, and thank you for stopping by. It's always fun to share something with you guys, and I appreciate you coming board and checking it out. So until next time, or until 3 p.m., may you all continue to be inspired, productive, ever so joyful. Never stop believing, and never stop making your dreams in quilting come true. We love y'all. Happy quilting. Happy hump day. Whoop, whoop. And we'll see you all soon.